Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Happy New Year. It's 2024, and so good to see you again. Sean, Victor, Tanya, Vlad, so good to have you here. Sean, how was your holidays? How was your 2023?
Really, really good, thank you. We ended up going away for it. So flew away Christmas Eve and came back 2 days ago. So yeah, that was
Sounds
nice.
lovely. Leaving the lovely UK weather, I presume.
Oh, it was pretty grim. Landing, I think they said it was roughly 80 mile an hour winds when we came down to land. So it was a bit of a roller coaster. But they did a good job.
Ooh.
Everyone survived. But they did come around
Victor,
to make
Happy New
sure everyone had
Year.
tick bags, which was a pleasant one.
Oh,
Hey, New
that's
Year.
something you want on a flight.
Yeah, nothing much. Just taking my family with my parents to for Christmas and New Year. Yeah, good food for sure. What's there?
Gotta love that. Some home cooking. Tanya, Happy New Year. How was your holidays?
Thanks. It was fine. I also spent that time with my family.
Always good. And Vlad, how'd you spend 2023?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm happy that I'm alive because you know that shit happens. And yeah, this new year we celebrated not with a firefox but celebrated with a siren and explosions. And yeah, it's New Year in Ukraine is a bit different from other part of the world. So we hope that the next year we will celebrate the victory and yeah, and things will go better. Yeah, but overall, I'm happy that I celebrated it with my family, and we are all here.
Me too, Vlad. Happy you're here too. Obviously, we all were pulling for you and hope for the same in the new year. But speaking of Vlad, first item on the agenda is actually a lot of fun statistics and articles you wanted to share. Uh,
Yeah,
how
sure.
would you like to do this, Vlad? Do you want me to share the links on my screen, or do you already have them
Yeah,
pulled up on
I
yours?
can share. I can share my screen. Yeah. So give me a second, and I screen this screen and share. Yeah, and
And for
let's.
everybody watching, I'll drop the link to our stand-up notes here in the chat. Feel free to follow along.
Yeah.
And you're on, Vlad.
So yeah, so the first link I found recently, it was published yesterday. It's about funny application, accessibility app for recognizing birds. So it was developed using .NET MAUI and of course ChatGPT, OpenAI. 2023 was a year of OpenAI and all artificial intelligence. So this application and article describes all things that happened and how this application was developed. The next two videos, you probably know Gerald. Yeah, and he recently published two videos. First about the new feature from .NET MAUI 8 about desktop shortcuts. So you can use your keyboard to and using keyboard accelerators to run some actions in your .NET MAUI application, and also another video about magic strings navigation and in MAUI and Shell. Also, two new articles from also Gerald. One about switch label on Windows. So if you don't like this text near this switch control, Gerald describe how easily with just a few lines of code you can remove this text and using .NET MAUI handlers architecture extensions, and you can see the result that text disappeared. Another article that I also used in my applications, it's about customizing .NET about customizing Mac Catalyst about dialog. And generally, when we run Mac Catalyst application and click on about this application, we see this this general window with just icon, application name, and version. And here Gerald described how we can extend and customize this window just by adding this magic credits file that adds this additional text, or by adding additional field in info list file, and it's also you can see text appeared here. The next article which I published, it's about adding creating calendar view using .NET MAUI handlers. So you know that we probably had a lot of, at least we had a discussion about adding calendar view in Mac in community toolkit, but probably we decided that for now we do not want it. If you want, so if you're going to use a calendar view in your application, so you can find this article useful. So it describes, so first of all, it describes how it differs from existing libraries that mostly use like grid, stack layout, flex layout, or other controls just to draw this grid calendar. In my article, I describe handler approach and how it can, how using handler architecture you can build and use native controls provided by Google and Apple and Microsoft. So you can see how this control looks like on Mac Catalyst and iOS, how it displayed on Windows, and how it displayed on Android. As for Android, just announcement that probably next week I will publish a new article about customizing and using material design of control using some awesome library that I found. The next link and event that happened last month, it's .NET Conf 2023. It's Ukraine local event. It was specific for .NET MAUI, Blazor, and third-party controls and libraries that can be used with that. So you can watch this conference. It was in Ukraine. It actually was the first conference for the last 4 years that my company organized, especially for offline for .NET, because of COVID and war. And it's the language of this conference was Ukrainian, but you can use subtitles and read the text. So as a result of this conference, I developed a web application, World Explorer. Just a second, let me reload it. So what it does, it's it can be your assistant if you travel a lot. So it search for it gets your location and search for beautiful, famous nearby places near you. It search for about 5 to 10 places in 10 kilometers far from you. And the main thing and the core part of this application is that it's built using Blazor, .NET MAUI, and of course artificial intelligence. So all places, all their descriptions are generated by OpenAI, by ChatGPT, artificial intelligence. So you can see the place photos, you can read its description, you can choose another place, search for some photographs and read the description. So, and that's it about all my links that I prepared for today.
Very cool. Thanks, Vlad. Hey, was that the calendar control? It looked like it was using, at least on iOS, the native iOS calendar.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
basically, is this? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you
I
can see.
remember.
yeah, for Android, it uses Android widget calendar view. Unfortunately, it does not support material design, so it just looks like this. As for Windows, yeah, it's also native calendar view control. For iOS, it's again UI calendar view. And I just prepared some like most used properties like first day of week, minimum maximum day, and selected date. So you can like here on the first screenshot, when I select on some day, it display the date and time that I selected. So, and of course, you can find and play with this application in my MAUI samples repository on GitHub.
Love it. Yeah, I remember because when we were talking about calendar view last time,
Yeah.
it was some community members making it totally custom. So using grids and populating the dates, and it was just really, really hard. I remember we went back and forth. It was actually back in the Xamarin Community Toolkit days. Calendar view was going to be the last feature we added, but yeah, just ironing out all the bugs. We couldn't get it to a point where we felt comfortable releasing it before that deadline. But holy cow, yeah, using the native calendar views, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. So maybe we got to spin up a conversation around that now. But very cool. Thanks, Vlad.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And as I mentioned, for the next article, I will display even better control for calendar view that use material design that has much more features. And I will describe in details how I migrated it from Java control to .NET MAUI.
Very cool. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All
Stay
right.
tuned.
That's right. Subscribe, like, and subscribe.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into our community toolkit proposals. We'll start with a quick update to the media element. If you've been following along, this is a proposal to port Android's implementation of media element from Exoplayer, which it is currently using, to Media 3. If you've never heard of Exoplayer or Media 3, that's okay. These are the libraries created by Google for us to use. And it's Google's evolved everything over the years. And so now they've deprecated Exoplayer. And so if you ever crack open the .NET MAUI or the community toolkit.maui source code, you'll see a lot of obsolete warnings in the Android implementation of Calendar View, of Media Element, because Media Element's still using Exoplayer. So we want to move to Media 3. That's the plan. But first things first is we need a C# binding. So quick update. We're still blocked, but if you come into this proposal, you can find the link to the update. But basically, almost done is the latest update here. This is from Mizhenko, longtime Xamarin Mono contributor. And so we might be getting closer to this getting unblocked. And as soon as it does, then we can start asking for volunteers to help us out with it. So getting closer. No work done yet, but wanted to at least share some good news where we can get them. And then next one is badge view. And Vlad, I believe you added the discussion label.
Yeah, I added discussion label because Victor posted a detailed a description how it can be achieved using existing controls, using, if I correctly understand, using avatar view and label. So my question, should we close this issue? Because technically it's really easy to implement it, just using like grid labels and avatar view. So should we create should we create this control at all, or probably just close it because technically it's super easy to just create it? I saw we had open PR for it from Xavier. but we closed it because for the even currently in this in IP design, it uses stack layout or base template layout that based on compatibility package. So probably as for this control, it makes sense to just close this issue because it's not a rocket science to create it.
Gotcha. I mean, I'll never say no to less work, but Victor, do you want to share how you implemented this? And I'd say if you could, assuming we do move forward with closing the proposal, I'd say we should at least add, Victor, if you haven't, like a link to an open source repo or a blog post you got to share how you did these, and then folks can copy paste.
Sure, absolutely. I can share some code repo with some samples there, so they can take a look at that. Yeah, I'm posted on the issue. Yeah, basically, it was just I use the avatar view and the label, positioning the elements in the grid, and that's all. Nothing complex. Yep, I can share.
Interesting. So how'd you get so I assume the J, that's the avatar view. And then how'd you get the symbol to pin to that top right corner there?
Well, that was an image, but you can also use labels also or material design symbols, and you can just put that there. So it's very flexible, you know, the native controls. And you're not
Gotcha.
limited to the
Okay.
amount of digits or something. It's just free for you. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I love the suggestion from George, adding this as a sample or to the sample app, because then it can live on forever in the sample app instead of, if we should also add the link to the code here for anybody that stumbles upon it thanks to a Google search. But yeah, I think certainly if it's in the sample app, then it would help with some discoverability.
Yeah, on the other view, that would be perfect fit for these samples. Sure, I can help with that.
Cool. Thanks, Victor. Thank you, George. And then we'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on what we should do with the proposal. Sean, you want to go first?
Yeah, like you say, I'm all for not. Oh, just to double check, is my mic better now?
Yeah, it's much better.
Excellent. Yes, thanks, Nino. Turns out I was using my laptop, which is tucked away down at the bottom. Yeah, I think I'm all for not introducing more maintenance burden upon us. I suspect that there could be quite a few edge cases where people might find issues, like with text clipping or things like that, and we'd end up supporting that in a way. So if we don't have to, I'd be happy to close it down and direct people to the sample.
Sounds good. Tanya, what do you think?
I think this feature would be useful, and it looks great for me, but I don't know, I didn't look at it so deeply, so I think that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, we can have you, I assume, when Victor opens the PR adding it to the sample app, Todd, we could tag you in the implementation so you can take a look and double check, make sure it makes sense and you approve of it, certainly. Vlad, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree that we can just create a PR with this and with a sample app, and after merging we can close this issue. And probably we should do the same for all control that we do not migrate from Xamarin Community Toolkit to .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. if we decided that it's not migrated for some reason because it's can be easily implemented using existing controls. So it can be like a specific like section in our application, like obsolete, or I don't know how to name it, like yeah, but some of like exemplary leftovers. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
But you got the idea.
it's a cool idea. Yeah, and I think for this one, like Victor, when you submit your PR, we've already got tons of different avatar samples. So I would just add this as another avatar view sample. George did an incredible job. He gave us so many samples. And George also said he'd love to review your PR too. So uh, thank you, everybody. Thank you, George, and thank you, Victor. And yeah, when you pop it open, I guess give Tanya a tag, give George a tag. We'll double check everything, and then we'll close out the proposal once we merge that sample in. And yeah, Vlad, I love that idea of things that we've kind of said, this is pretty straightforward to do, but why don't we add a sample? Always more samples is better. Cool. What is next? Sean, drawing view get image stream has no effect. What's going on here?
So it was a discussion opened a while back, which we have closed down, but I think there is a little bit of confusion as to what the size parameter does on get image stream. As I was reading into our XML documentation, the one that I think developers would interact with suggests it would determine the size of the image that comes out, but it doesn't. It determines the maximum size of the image that comes out. So if that's the behavior we want, maybe we just rename the parameter and we fix the XML documentation. But I think the ongoing discussion is that people think there's multiple use cases. If you've got a canvas like you see in that 200 by 200 image there, you might expect to get the whole canvas out in the image, which is currently not what we support. We just get that tiny little image out at the bottom. You can see it, which I suspect. I think that's more the signature, isn't it? It's the use case of extracting a signature from an app. You don't care about potentially all of the padding around it. You actually only really want the squiggle from the user.
If I remember correctly, we made 2 or 3 bug fixes for that. And if I remember correctly, the last implementation should resize the image. So first of all, it gets the size of the, like, drawing a rectangle around these points. So it gets the minimum, like, between the two points from top, bottom, left, and right. And after that, it resizes the whole image to the desired size 2020, but it resizes it without losing the proportion. So it proportionally resizes it. So if the widths and hits here parameters, it's actually the name of parameters of the method that save the image. It says that it's not the size of the image, it's the maximum size of the widths and the maximum size, like the maximum widths and maximum hits. So it's not exactly the size of the image that you will receive.
Okay, I think we missed somewhere in the XML documentation then.
Yeah,
I think if you scroll down to...
it makes sense to update the documentation because it's probably confused. And I close this issue, describe that it's not the size of image, it's a maximum image size, and that is like by design how it's resized.
Okay, but yeah, I think if you look there, you'll see those 2 XML documentations there. One says it's the desired dimensions, which is, I think, what the developer will interact with. So if that's the design, then
Mm.
we could just correct the XML documentation to make it clearer.
Yeah, it makes sense to just fix it. But anyway, the image will be resized proportionally. So it's the main idea for the user. So it's not like the size that he will receive.
I guess questions around whether we want to support the other use case in the future. So if you're building like a MS Paint app, effectively, you couldn't retain the padding around what's drawn, could you?
The main problem that we don't know how to correctly describe. Yeah, just received good news from Telegram. So yeah, the main idea that we do not know how to correctly put this image, because actually it's not an image that we're drawing, it's an array of points, and we need to somehow render them and correctly display somewhere in the image. And the main problem here, so we receive point 00 and the line to 1000, 1000, but user put the size of the image 200, 200. How should we render these points? Should we somehow resize them, multiply on some factor, or so the main problem here, how we can get the snapshot and screenshot of this image, and that is the main problem.
Yeah, that's tough. Holy cow! Because so here in the screenshot, I assume this blue background is just somebody created a new drawing view, set the background color of the drawing view to be this blue color.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't I don't disagree with their expectations that, hey, this is the drawing view. Why wasn't the drawing view the image? But I get it now. Like you said, Vlad, the lines are literally just points and vectors. It's not really necessarily this as the image. So yeah, I don't know how we would do that. You'd have to capture a lot of things. But well, it sounds like for this one, at least the resolution will be to update the docs. Is that right?
Yes, I think at a minimum we need to do that anyway. And then we could open a future if we decide to consider a different resizing strategy or something like that to allow people to retain the padding. But I think we'd take some careful thought given what we've discussed.
Yeah, I'd say that's a very polite way of saying that, Sean, certainly. But yeah, maybe the only thing I could think of right now is like a quick fix or quick workaround would be, we're using trace.writeLine in a lot of places in the library. So maybe if the requested image size is smaller and we have to rescale it, or however we're doing it, if we are essentially ignoring their requests, or if we have to modify the image to meet their request, whichever way we're going with it, maybe we just say trace.writeLine and then put out a little explanation to the logs. Is I've always found that when the code doesn't do what I expect it to do, my first thought is it's a bug. But certainly if we're able to acknowledge that, yes, we see that you wanted it to be 200 by 200, but your image can't be 200 by 200, so we're thus resizing it. Or we see that your image is bigger and you only asked for 200 by 200, so we're going to crop it. Like whatever we're doing, we could add in a trace write-line. That's probably in the short term just the easiest thing I can think of to, along with updating the XML docs, just make sure that pops up in the logs.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Make it easier to diagnose for the developer.
Yeah. Yeah. Let them know, like, hey, we're doing this on purpose, and here's why. Okay, cool. Is this Vlad or Sean? Which one of you guys should I assign it to?
I don't mind taking it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Victor. Transparent status bar color Android. What's going on?
Yeah, there is a issue reported by a user who actually links to that PR, to that link, to that issue. Basically, they said that they tried to, when they put on the status bar color transparent, the color is not the transparent color is not being set on the bar. So after debugging the code and to see if I can figure out what the issue is, I came up with a solution there based on some researching about Android, how it handles to make the status bar transparent. And however, you can, as in the PR and the draft PR, is a video where I posted, and I would like your feedback just to know. I updated the sample there. As you can see, we have the red, green, blue colors for the status bars. I added alpha below those range colors when you can start making it transparent and to from 0 to 1 to 0 or 0 to 1.
Whoa.
At some point,
That's
but at
cool.
some point, when you increase the alpha, you see
Oh.
going up. Yeah, exactly. I don't know why that happened. And there is no an issue reported on MAUI in the MAUI repository about this. So basically, my question is, of course, getting feedback from you all and team from the YouTube who is watching us is, what do you recommend? You want us to create a book, an issue on MAUI repo, or do you think we are doing something wrong? What do you recommend?
Is it really a .NET MAUI issue, or it's probably by design of the platform, maybe? Because actually, as I understand, we call native Android code for that, and it just disappears. I don't know if it's actually an issue of MAUI.
Though disappears is because the styling is white, so you at the end of the day you see all icons white on the status bar. But yeah, it's like I don't know why the title jumps down.
Yeah, it's almost like we're adding another status bar on top of the status bar. But yeah, I see you're just setting activity.window.set status bar color. So, Victor, is this bug already here, or was the bug introduced by this bug fix?
No,
Like if
it's
you
that was introduced before. This is a PR,
okay.
which supposes to fix that bug. But that's why it's a draft, because that issue jumping the title, I don't know why, and the issue happens on shell pages and non-shell pages, because I was thinking it was a shell issue, but no, I
Yeah.
tried it and it's the same. So,
That last line of the file changes, though, is that, did I read it correctly?
Yeah.
We're changing.
yeah, we change it from examples and
something when it's not transparent. Was that? Send decor fit system windows. At last, would that?
yeah, they
We
said, yeah. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
So we are programmatically changing something based on when it's not transparent. Well, and was that the behavior from the video, or was that the other way around? No, it was the other way around, wasn't it? When it does become transparent.
Right.
Okay. It's just an obvious thing I spotted as you were scrolling, but that's not it, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, without digging into the code, just looking at it here, yeah, we're not doing anything custom. Like Vlad said, like we're just using the Android APIs. So strange that happens, but my opinion is if this bug already exists, so I'm kind of curious, Victor, if you keep your sample, but remove this bug fix, does that status bar jump still happen?
No,
Meaning, like, does that bug already exist in the sample, or is it new with this PR?
no, it doesn't exist. It on that jump title
Dang.
thing only happens exactly when you set transparent in Android. And as you saw on the video, it doesn't happen with certain opacity percentage. It happens at some point.
I think that this line with Windows compat set decor fits system Windows probably like do some magic with the status bar and just appear and disappear it. So probably just need to understand what it actually does, what is this line for, and probably it will answer all our questions. What is like
And
system window and what is decor fits.
Basically, what this line does, well, based on my research, of course, I may
Mhm.
be wrong, but this line is when you set transparent color, the
Mhm.
status bar from Android needs to be changed to translucent, to a type of translucent. So what it does is it changes that and makes the application to full screen, so it gets transparent for you.
Mhm.
The other way, that's why we're validating that. If it's not transparent, then just use the normal one.
yeah,
But
the
yeah,
the only thing I can think of, Victor, is calling activity.window. Like a thought I had is which activity, and is .NET MAUI doing something in main activity that like maybe like it's doing something under the hood where either the activity is changing or the window's changing, and should we be using something like there's probably a better way to do it, but something where like you can say like get current activity, and you know, does that make sense? That's a problem I've hit before with trying to do Android stuff for Xamarin Forms and Maui things where um, you think you're working in one activity, but the one on the screen is a different activity just because you don't really know what Maui is doing under the hood. But that's a shot in the dark.
yeah, that's fine. I mean,
Maybe something with the activity.
we maybe this is an issue with Android. Yeah, I have been researching about .NET MAUI, but maybe I have been looking the wrong place. Maybe I need to look for Android native platform. Maybe they are facing this issue as well natively.
Mm.
So it's not a MAUI or MAUI
Yeah.
toolkit, more than Android thing, no. Okay, I will research more then.
All right. Well, thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
I will say that demo looked great until the status bar jumped. I loved seeing that transparency dim down. All right, Sean, I believe this one's yours.
Yes. So it might not necessarily be that we are going to do what's requested here, but it's been pointed out that when people want to trim their applications, which is something we're most likely going to be looking at least for .NET 9, I think.
Yep, got to.
Is
Literally
that
don't have a choice to support trimming.
is that I may have made a mistake with the pop-up service in the fact that I register it we register it with service collection. Originally, the thought being is that it makes it more difficult for people to misuse it because it's already registered for them. But I'm wondering whether we should introduce a breaking change at some point and migrate to the kind of approach that the .NET MAUI application model uses, and that's to force the user to register it, the developer to register it, and therefore we're not going to prevent the pop-up service from being trimmed if the developer doesn't want to use it.
Yeah. So if I'm being totally honest, when I saw this discussion pop up, my first thought was, how much is that increasing your app size
Well,
by?
there is that, yes. It's not going to be huge, but
So So that was, I mean, and it's a very crude and crass response, because I agree with his with what he's calling out here, that like, hey, we're not really trimming it if you're forcing this code to stay in. But in terms of other things I'd prioritize our time on, probably other things. But I did see this idea about you know, we have use Maui Community Toolkit, but what if you only wanted Popup or something like this? I I don't hate the idea, but again, it's one of those like, how much benefit does that really bring? You know, it would certainly bring more granularity, and like use Maui Community Toolkit would just call these use methods. But I could also see that introducing more confusion and
It will
things
break our
like how,
analyzers.
yeah, I was about to say, like, we added that analyzer because you do need to call this, but um, it's a good thought. But I kind of think maybe it's something we keep in the back of our mind until we start working on the trimmer code. Because I was joking, but yeah, like we'll have to add support for native AOT in .NET 9 because the .NET MAUI team is adding that support. So we've got to stay in lockstep. And yeah, I'm curious how much will how much of an effect this will have once we start adding support for the trimmer. Because right now we say we don't support trimming. You'll get a warning if you try to use the trimmer on the toolkit. So technically, the response today is like, this is working as designed. We don't support trimming. But yeah, I can see this coming more to light as we work on that trimming support. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, I mean, the pop-up code, it's got to just be a couple kilobytes.
It's 5K
So
is the C# file size. I don't know what impact that has when it gets compiled down.
Yeah, and also
yeah, I
our
imagine the
like
compile code would be smaller.
our plans for changing pop-up at all. Yeah, it will be just
That's
a
right.
service. Yeah, and we will remove this feature, so I don't know if it's... Yeah, I understand that it's not about only pop-up, it's just an example here, but I don't think it technically makes sense to just split it on... It probably will give more confusion for users rather than benefits.
Yes, and actually you need to specify and know what components do you want to use, and each time adding this method, it will be very like difficult and more job to do, I think.
That's true. It would be a ton of work because, yeah, you're totally right, Tanya. If we went this route, then we'd want to write an analyzer to see if we see you using pop-up code and you haven't called use MCT pop-up, or if you're using converters, you haven't called use them. Like that could, yeah, that could get hairy real fast. So
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, we'd be able to initialize things based on what the developer uses, but I guess that's a
well,
challenge in
and
itself.
Pedro's here too. Hey, Pedro. It says, I believe the trimmer looks into the user's code. So if we add pop-up services and the user doesn't use it, the trimmer should remove it. Um, that'd be convenient for us. But my assumption was always that if the trimmer sees a usage or an implementation of, yeah, an interface or concrete class, that it'll keep it. But I don't know. I'm not a trimmer expert. Certainly Pedro was on the Xamarin Community Toolkit implementing trimmer support.
Yeah, although in theory, developers wouldn't ever use the pop-up service; they'd use the interface. Well, at least based on at least based on the documentation.
That's true too.
So in theory, it would never.
I don't remember if we register I pop-up service. Like if we add it in our use community toolkit and register it. If not, that I don't think we
It
should do
is.
any.
It's registering pop-up service under the interface iPop-up service as a singleton.
Yeah, probably if we remove this part, it will definitely not used by anyone. So it's only one breaking change that we can add, and probably .NET MAUI also do not register all essentials when we add it. So it will be the same as we just remove this part and just say that you should explicitly like add this line of code and register pop-up service if you need it.
True. So yeah, I'd say for now, let's kind of let them know thank you, and we'll keep it top of mind. But I think we've all kind of mentioned it'd be premature to try and do something now, especially with we're going to be adding trimming support for .NET 9, and there's the possibility that we just revamp Popup like we've talked about, where you just go through the Popup service to use Popup, and those two would definitely nullify a lot of the work that would go into solving this. So I think for now, we kind of say this is blocked until we can get trimmer support added, and then maybe even if we decide to move forward with pop-up service, then this would continue to be blocked until we figure out that implementation. So cool idea, though.
I was wondering whether we want to label it so we don't lose it for when we do come to do the trimming support.
Do we have Victor? You made the tags, right? Is there a trimmer tag?
Probably
No,
not, 'cause it doesn't exist yet.
And I for
That's true.
It's not a feature of ours.
Which label?
Trimmer
if
isn't a feature of ours.
it's related with the pop-up, in this case, it's the area views.
Core?
If it's the core, yeah, for the core system. Yep.
Yeah, where's it at? Okay, cool. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Sean. Glad we talked about it. Oh, and that's it, because I haven't done much on or anything on markup, and really haven't done much at all lately. I've been enjoying the holidays, and I'm also working on a .NET MAUI course. So teaming up with Nick Chapsis to publish a .NET MAUI course to his training website, which I'll be done at the end of the month. So I'll be a little bit quiet. Definitely be leaning on you guys, you all, to help with Community Toolkit stuff this month until I can jump back in. But yeah, super excited. I've already got hours of training videos made just to show off how to create a simple app with like a collection view and a refresh view. And then I'm going to do another course that dives into like handlers and really get into the guts of .NET MAUI. So hopefully I'll be done with that by the end of the month. Apologize for being a little quiet until then, but it'll be an awesome resource for the community. Really excited for that. Cool. Well, that's it for the agenda. Any final words before we sign off for the day?
Just a happy new year to everyone.
Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, happy New Year. Keep coding.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone. Tanya, Sean, Victor, Vlad, great seeing you. Thanks for joining. Pedro, George in the comments. Nuno, so great having you all here. And we'll see you next month, the first Thursday of every month, same time, 12 p.m. Pacific. Make sure to double check those time zones, subscribe to the .NET Foundation YouTube channel. But we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye all.
Bye.